I'm selling all my Bitcoin and altcoins when Bitcoin hits this price prediction. In this video, I'm going to talk about what that price prediction is and how I came to that conclusion. I'm also going to tell you why altcoin season is potentially just days away and all the indicators that are flashing right now for one of the most extreme volatile periods of time that we have seen in crypto in recent years. Everything in this video. As soon as you hit that like button, let's get started with it. Well guys, obviously it's been a stressful few weeks in the market as we've been leading up to the halving event. Obviously everyone's been panicking about what's going on and we've all been zoomed in a little bit too closely. So what I like to do in these periods of time is to zoom the F out because it's going to give us a much calmer, cooler ability to look at the overall picture. Now, in the last few bull markets, we've followed fairly similar patterns, not just in Bitcoin, but in other charts that have indicated what happens next. And whilst everyone's emotional and whatever, typically very similar things play out. Now we have this kind of green accumulation zone where the kind of smarter money is quietly accumulating. And you run into this kind of red hopium period where you've got a lot of people who think that, things are going to go well, and a lot of others who are like, well, I'm not really sure whether it's going to go that well or not. Ultimately, we then get up to around previous all-time highs, and we're like, yeah, fair enough. Bitcoin's going to break its all-time highs. We have a little bit of sideways action like we did down here, and like we've been having here, and then guess what? We run into an almighty bull run event where we go pretty much straight up. In the past, we went up 230%. With a little bit of kind of consolidation in the middle. Now, what I feel is the Bitcoin is in this middle of this consolidation phase before moving into the explosive next phase. And before I move you on and talk about the Bitcoin price predictions and how I've come to that conclusion and ultimately my exit plan from cryptocurrency, let's have a look at what the altcoins are doing right now, because that's really important. Now, I've drawn a similar pattern where we have been the kind of speculation up towards previous all-time highs. And as you can see, for the total market cap of crypto minus Bitcoin and Ethereum, we are still lagging behind those previous highs by a good 70%, which tells me something very important. It tells us that we are very much early. And, you may have felt a bit of pain recently in some cryptocurrencies, but all my days, there is some really juicy opportunity ahead of us if we can keep our calm. One of the biggest, most important indicators for an altcoin season is that of the Ethereum versus Bitcoin chart. And I may have showed you this before, and I apologize if you're getting tired of that. But this is so important to drill down on the key elements right now, the key emotions, so that we can identify when things may be about to happen. Because you're not going to get the information from just one place. You need to have a spread of collection of data. Now you can see after this kind of like cup pattern here, okay, whatever you want to call it, have a big push and a retrace into the zone. This is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. You'll notice that the last bull market, or what we call the last bull market, doesn't really appear in here. Right now, we are looking at that we are in somewhat the area of where we were on the 13th of February, 2017, where Ethereum Bitcoin chart finished this kind of like bull flag down into this deep zone here, and then eventually it broke out towards the upside. So, where were we? 20th of February, 2017. Well, we have to go back a bit in time for Bitcoin and look at where Bitcoin was 20th of February 17. You can see that we have just finished this kind of area where we're dipping down in here, and then we rally into an almighty bull market, where at that time Bitcoin went up 16x. And that was the end of that major bull market. After that, we had like consolidation. Eventually, we then ran into the next bull market phase, which theoretically could have been that one here. And now we're kind of looking to have the second leg of that bull market. And whichever way you look at this, you have to argue that it's very familiar to see this kind of repetition in patterns occurring, okay? Bitcoin hits previous all-time highs, rallies up through, things get very exciting. So then, knowing that a massive move in Bitcoin and the overall altcoin market can occur when ETH breaks out from this green box, which we're currently sat in right now, then things are starting to get quite exciting. As we're looking into here, you can see that Ethereum, basically versus the Bitcoin price, is starting to dip lower and lower into this zone. Or whether it gets all the way down to like 4% or something, I don't believe that it's really going to break below this kind of area here. And in which case, eventually, when it does start to pick up, we're going to rally extremely fast. And that means that we're not ready for what comes next. Okay, now I know you're like, okay, get on and tell me where you're selling Bitcoin because that's the title of your video. And that's all I've come for, and you've clickbaited me in. And maybe I have a little, but it's really important. And what I say after this is also going to be hopefully really important as well, even if I do say so myself. Now, what you can see, the Bitcoin price in previous bull markets did this. In the Fibonacci retracement, which you can go from the previous swing high of the bull market in 17 and drop it down to the swing low, you'll see that the Bitcoin price on that initial rally, yes, it went higher on the second rally. Initial rally went to the 3.618. Okay, went to the 3.618, which is pretty high. Okay, almost kind of a break and retest. Now, if you take this to the top of our previous bull market and then you drop it to the lows that we saw end of 22, you will then see that the next 3.618 comes in somewhere up here at around $210,000. Now, do I know for certain that Bitcoin is going to get to that valuation? Absolutely not. But there's a good chance that it gets somewhere around there. So what I will say to most people out there is that you're going to overshoot in your estimations where you think it might go by a good amount. Therefore, I want to have an exit on the way up rather than on the way down. And in the same way that when the markets are moving towards the downside, I keep buying as those dips go in because I don't know where it's going to turn around. And I also don't know on the way up where it's going to stop and turn around either. And this is the biggest problem for almost every one of you watching this video, including myself. Because when those charts get moving, we can't help ourselves. Our greed takes over. We can't help but envision whether we're going to get another 10x, a 20x, what it's going to look like from here. We really have no control of ourselves. Therefore, we must have a plan in place, which is what I am doing right now to make sure that I don't get fucked by having too much greed, too much excitement, and hype. Therefore, in my opinion, this is a fairly solid thing to do. You can use this Fibonacci tool, or some of the conspiracy theorists watching this will think it's some sort of a scam or con. That's fine. But this is a fairly kind of consistent place to be able to find resistance as the price moves beyond previous highs. Okay, so what we can do is maybe start to draw lines in these areas. We've got one at 103, one here at 154, and then the kind of the total up here, which means that you want to start to remove tokens from your positions as you go past certain key levels. And this isn't just Bitcoin, this goes for every cryptocurrency out there if they've been breaking previous highs. And if you're following my videos, then you will realize that actually you want to rather be invested in the new tokens that are launching or have been launching recently rather than some of the legacy projects. And why is that? Well, let me tell you a little story. You may be aware that in the last week or so, I've been hanging out in Dubai at this Token 2049 event, which has been really useful, really insightful. But what I probably learned about cryptocurrency was more about the way that it actually worked, rather than the stories and things that you actually get told. Yes, there's lots of innovation, lots of exciting projects on the horizon. Loads of people are really highly anticipating some of the things they're going to be able to do. But most of this bull market and crypto in general is probably not the nicest, friendliest place that you've ever heard of. Lots of the bigger institutions and the bigger money know full well that the retail degens prefer to get into new coins. Therefore, they back, guess what, the newer coins, because the old coins lose their shine and excitement. And while there will be a handful that can run strongly in this bull market, lots of the ones that have already been through a full bull market and out the other side possibly won't perform to the way that you maybe anticipate that they will. There is but one area that I actually realize that they do actually see value outside of just trying to fleece people for cash, and it is DeepIn that appears to be one of the favorites because it is one of the only areas that people can predict that there is actually going to be usage. And this is explained more in this CoinDesk article talking about DeepIn is a venture capitalist's latest crypto obsession, because now we're transitioning from the point of these pipe dreams, which is what most crypto projects have been historically and potentially will continue to be for a while, into a region of time where some of these projects actually might to become useful and people actually might start to use them, which is obviously crazy, right? So some of the longer term VC bets are going towards some of the bigger DeepIn projects, which is what I've been harping on about since December. But the truth is, although I feel I got invited into the inner circle of all the crypto games and things going on, I'm still kind of a bit of an outsider. And arguably you're probably the same. Therefore, the only thing we can really rely on and anticipate happening in the future is that the whole crypto bull market will tend to go through frenzy. And when people are in frenzy, they do stupid stuff. And you need to make sure that you don't get into that frenzy period and you pay clear attention to the rest of the market and understand what's going on. whilst the market's been extremely quiet in the last few days or last couple of weeks, that's when you should have been getting frenzied and excited and getting into crypto. But typically you don't do that. When the markets start to pump, you get frenzied and excited, and you tend to ask all the questions about the coins that have already been pumping, such as Akash, which just 2 weeks ago was all the way down here, and you could have made all the way up 106%, but no one was paying attention because it was going down. Now, as soon as I hear the words Akash and everyone talking about this project, I can tell you already without looking at a price chart that I don't want to be buying that project. No matter how good it is, no matter what the story, all the people who are talking about it right now are retail investors who are getting hyped and excited and planning their entry, while all of the big dogs who are buying down here are just taking an easy 2 or 3x. Now, I'm not saying this project can't go higher, and yes, it's in deep in, which is one that I'm pretty passionate about. But one of the clearest, easiest indicators to look at on the market is to be in some form of a group, and I have a free Telegram which is linked down below in the description. Pay attention to what happens in comment sections of videos, pay attention to Telegram messages, and pay attention to news stories around the world, because it's the easiest thing in the world to know when to sell, because when everyone else is talking about crypto, it's time to get the hell out. When everyone's talking about a coin, don't be the mug who goes and says, where can I buy it? Because you need a good old slap, okay? Because it's the wrong thing to do. If you dive in and someone's like sharing their gains, there's another big one. When someone's sharing their gains, get out the market. Now, you can continue to use things like the Fibonacci sequence, okay? It's going to be incredibly difficult for you to anticipate, once we've broken beyond previous highs, like you can see with Akash, to anticipate where Akash goes to. So I personally would look to take profits on these at set intervals. You could use something like this Fibonacci sequence as a key indicator. You could also use the USDT dominance as another indicator. How would I use it? Well, here you can see these are lines of support for USDT dominance. Why this is important is because the dominance of this chart indicates where we are in relation to where the market's going. Okay, so if everyone's holding USDT and wants to buy USDT, it means the rest of the market is going to go down, because obviously they're pulling it out of the risk assets and putting it into USDT, the safer asset. Now you can see we have broken below this previous line of support. We've tried to get back inside. We've wicked towards the upside. It does look to me like USDT is about to dump. That happens, we're into the altcoin season, as I've just said. Then you want to set alerts, okay, down in this zone here. You got one. That's like an area that you could see a USDT bounce in and would be a good area to take profits on that move. You can see another one down here. You can take incremental profits as you go down. Why you need and must 100% have some form of step-by-step method to get out these markets is because you don't know, I don't know, and no one knows just how high Solana, Bitcoin, ICP, Render, Casper, I don't know, Atom will go in this bull market. And making a prediction based on like what you can buy if that prediction gets hit is one of the dumbest things that people do. And I don't want you to do it, okay? I don't want you to do it. So have incremental prices that you want to get out at, and just set and forget your positions. The best place I recommend for you to set and forget your positions is over on bitchinix.com, linked down below in the description. Why do I like Bitchinix? Well, because you don't need a VPN, even if you're in the US. You don't need to do KYC if you're transferring tokens on there from another platform. Although if you do KYC, you get additional benefits, like being able to buy through fiat. They're one of the Binance liquidity providers, therefore they get huge liquidity on their trading platform, making it one of the best places to trade futures going forward. Also, they have a lot of tokens on spot, and every day they're adding more and more of those. People who've been signing up through my link down below in the description will gain the added benefit of being able to receive free airdrops for all the new tokens. I've also got an agreement with Bitchinix that going forward, whenever I talk about a coin, they're going to be able to list it the very next day. So if you want to stay up to date with all the tokens and coins that I'm buying and know exactly where to buy them with no KYC and no VPN, then make sure you're subscribed to the House of Crypto, and also you're in Bitchinix, because it's one of the best out there right now. And I want you to take a screenshot of this, okay? You can cut my face out or put whatever else you want on it, okay? But it's this. Look at the different areas that things hit in the market, okay? It happens without fail. It happens to every single coin, and no, that coin is not different. Every single time, a different coin, different phase of the market, okay? And you can follow this along, and you can follow along with this. Watch the news, pay attention. When you start to get media attention, like we got around the ETF, was around here, We then had a bit of sideways action, bit of calm down. I guarantee the next pump that we get is going to lead to enthusiasm, okay? And then the enthusiasm will lead to greed, and then ultimately delusion, okay? People go absolutely crazy during this period. They completely discount anything negative that anyone says, and they get trapped up here in this kind of area. They end up in denial, fear, capitulation, and then just absolutely have a meltdown. Don't let that be you. The only way you can manage this is by putting in consistent take profit periods on the chart. Don't be greedy, because it undoes absolutely everyone in these markets. If you really want to upskill yourself and become a better crypto trader, then follow me, guys, because I'm not going to sit here and just shill you coins over and over again. I'm going to tell you how to find them. And with this information, you're going to be armed and ready for what happens in the bull market. In tomorrow's video, we're going to start to look again at key narrative rotations, mainly into the BRC20 and the kind of the rooms narrative, which is kicking off right now. So a very exciting place to be looking. I'm also going to talk about some of the tokens and coins that I've been getting into right now. Do me a favor, hit that like button, and I'll see you tomorrow in another video. Bye-bye.